Picture this. You're at the customs counter at Narita Airport in Tokyo, exhausted from a 14-hour flight, ready to start your Japan vacation. The officer opens your bag for a routine check. He pulls out the small orange bottle you brought from your American pharmacy. Adderall, the medication you've taken every day for 15 years, the medication your doctor prescribed, the medication that's perfectly legal in the United States. Then he calls another officer over. 5 hours later, you're in a holding room. Your phone has been confiscated. You haven't been allowed to call the US Embassy. The translator is explaining that under Japanese law, you're now facing up to 10 years in prison for importing a controlled stimulant. The fact that you have a prescription doesn't matter. The fact that you didn't know doesn't matter. The fact that millions of Americans take this exact medication doesn't matter. You're in a foreign legal system, and you're alone. This isn't a worst-case scenario. It's something that happens to American travelers in Asia every single year. And it's just one of the ways Americans completely misunderstand what flying to Asia in 2026 actually involves. The truth is, Asia operates by a different set of rules than the casual travel Americans are used to. Different visa systems, different documents, different laws, different expectations at the border. And the assumptions that work in Mexico or Europe will get you arrested, denied, or stranded in Asia. Here are the 10 things American travelers are getting completely wrong about flying to Asia in 2026. Mistake 1. Treating Asia like one country. This is the foundational error every other mistake builds on. Americans plan trips to Asia the same way they would plan a trip to Europe, assuming that what works for Tokyo also works for Bangkok, that the rules in Singapore apply to Vietnam, that an itinerary covering 5 countries can be researched in a single afternoon, assuming that is a fast route to trouble. It cannot. Asia is not a region with shared rules. It is roughly 50 countries operating completely different visa systems, customs laws, and entry requirements, often changing every few months. Vietnam requires an e-visa applied for in advance. Thailand requires a Thailand digital arrival card submitted within 3 days of your flight. Indonesia uses an electronic visa on arrival system through the Love Bali portal. Cambodia issues e-visas through its own platform with separate rules at every border crossing. Japan grants visa-free entry for 90 days. Singapore allows Americans to enter without a visa for short stays, but treats medication and contraband violations more harshly than almost any country on Earth. Here is where it gets brutal. Travelers who book multi-country trips 2 weeks across Southeast Asia tend to research one country deeply and assume the rest are similar. They are not. Research. One country is not enough. The visa rules in Vietnam are completely different from the ones next door in Cambodia. The customs declarations required in Singapore look nothing like what Thailand asked for. Even within a single trip, you might need 3 different e-visas, 2 digital arrival cards, and a medication import certificate, all submitted on different platforms with different deadlines. The fix is to research each country individually, not the region, not Asia generally. Each specific country with its current 2026 rules on its official government website. Build a checklist for every border crossing in your itinerary. Confirm visa requirements, passport validity, arrival cards, and customs restrictions for every single country before you book anything. Asia rewards travelers who treat it like the complex patchwork of nations it actually is, and punishes the ones who treat it like a single destination on a brochure. Mistake 2. The 6-month passport rule catches more Americans than any other. If you've traveled to Europe, you might know that Schengen countries require your passport to stay valid for 3 months beyond your departure. Asia is stricter, much stricter. Most Asian countries require your passport to remain valid for at least 6 months from the date of your arrival, not your departure. Read that again. 6 months from when you land, not when you leave. So if you're flying into Bangkok on June 1st, your passport has to be valid until at least December 1st, regardless of when you actually plan to fly home. The list of countries enforcing this rule reads like every place an American might want to visit: Japan, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Cambodia, Laos, the Philippines, India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and Bhutan. The rule applies almost universally across the continent. Here's what catches Americans off guard. They look at their passport, see it expires in 7 months, and figure they're fine for a 2-week trip. They're not. 6 months from arrival means your passport must extend that long, no matter how short your stay. A U.S. passport expiring in 5 months means you cannot enter Japan for a weekend, let alone a vacation. And here's the brutal part. The check happens at the airline counter before you even board your flight in the United States. Airlines face huge fines for transporting passengers who cannot legally enter their destination, so they enforce passport validity rules religiously. Show up at Los Angeles International Airport with a passport that has 5.5 months left, and you will not fly. Period. The fix is simple. If your passport has less than 9 months of validity remaining, renew it before booking any Asian trip. Renewal through standard processing takes 6 to 8 weeks. Expedited service costs more but moves faster. The cost of a renewal is a fraction of what you'll lose if you are denied boarding the morning of your flight. In Asia, passport math runs on a longer timeline than Americans expect. Plan accordingly. Mistake 3. The onward ticket trap that ends trips at the gate. Most Americans assume that buying a one-way ticket to Asia is the smart move. Maybe you want flexibility on when you come home. Maybe you are planning to fly to a different country before returning. Maybe you found a great one-way deal and figured you would buy the return later. Don't. Almost every Asian country requires proof of onward travel as a condition of entry, and almost every airline checks for it before you board. Thailand wants to see proof you will leave within 30 days. Indonesia demands a return or onward ticket before they will process your visa on arrival. The Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia, all of them ask. And the airline checks first, at the departure airport, before you ever reach Asian customs. What this means in practice is that even with a valid visa, even with a valid passport, even with a hotel reservation, you can be denied boarding in the United States simply because you do not have a confirmed flight out of the country you are visiting. The airline does not care that you plan to buy one once you arrive. They care about what is documented in their system right now. Here is where this gets expensive. Travelers who try to satisfy the rule by buying a cheap throwaway ticket they do not intend to use have started running into a different problem. Some Asian countries have started cross-checking onward tickets against actual airline records, and a flight that gets canceled before your arrival does not count anymore. The system has caught up with the loophole. The fix is to always have a real, confirmed onward ticket. If you are not sure when you will leave, book a flexible or refundable fare to a nearby destination. Singapore to Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok to Phnom Penh, Bali to Singapore. These flights cost less than $100 and provide all the documentation you need. Or, if you are certain about your plans, just buy the round-trip ticket from the start. It often costs less than 2 one-way tickets anyway. The casual freedom of flying one way to Asia and figuring it out later is, in 2026, a fast way to end a trip before it begins. Mistake 4. Ignoring the digital arrival cards that are now mandatory across Asia. The era of paper customs, forms passed out on airplanes, is officially ending in Asia. In 2026, country after country has shifted to digital arrival cards that must be submitted online, often within a specific window before your flight lands. Miss the window and you are stuck in a customs line trying to do paperwork on bad Wi-Fi, while everyone behind you complains. The big ones to know about. Thailand now requires the Thailand Digital Arrival Card, TDAC. It must be submitted online within 3 days of your arrival. India made its electronic arrival card mandatory for all visitors starting April 1st, 2026. That form must be completed within 72 hours before your flight lands, and you need an active internet connection to file it. Indonesia has the electronic visa on arrival, and the Love Bali portal for the tourist tax. Cambodia uses the electronic arrival system. Vietnam requires the electronic visa to be filed in advance. Here is the trap. American travelers used to filling out customs cards on the plane assume the same will happen in Asia. They get on board, they wait for the form, and the form never comes. By the time they realize the country expects them to have submitted everything online before takeoff, they are already in the air and there is nothing they can do. Some countries are forgiving and let you submit on the ground. Others fine you. Some can deny you entry outright if you arrive without the proper digital paperwork. The fix is to research every country's current arrival card system before your flight. Submit everything in the required window before takeoff. Save screenshots of the QR codes and confirmation emails to your phone in a single folder you can find offline. Some airports have terrible Wi-Fi at the customs line, and you do not want to be hunting through your inbox while a tired immigration officer waits. In 2026, Asian customs cards live on your phone, not in your seat back pocket. Travelers who do not make the switch get stuck. Mistake 5. The prescription medication trap that can land you in a foreign prison. This is the rule Americans are most likely to learn about the hard way because it contradicts every assumption we make about how medication works. In the United States, if you have a valid prescription from a licensed doctor, you can carry that medication anywhere. In Asia, that assumption can put you in handcuffs. Japan is the most aggressive enforcer. Adderall, the most commonly prescribed ADHD medication in America, is completely banned in Japan under the Stimulants Control Act. Not restricted, not regulated, banned. Possession of even a single capsule can result in arrest and up to 10 years in prison. Your American prescription means absolutely nothing. The Japanese government has made it explicit that no prescription, no doctor's letter, no documentation will allow you to import amphetamine-based medications. And it is not just Adderall. Pseudoephedrine, the active ingredient in Sudafed and many over-the-counter cold medications, is also restricted. Codeine is regulated. Certain anxiety medications, sleep aids, and even some antidepressants either require advance import permits or are flat-out prohibited. Singapore enforces similar rules with similar penalties. Thailand, South Korea, and several other Asian countries maintain controlled substance lists that do not match anything Americans are familiar with. Travelers have been arrested for medications they bought legally at CVS the week before their flight. The fix requires real planning. Before traveling to Japan, check your medications against the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare Controlled Substances list, and apply for a Yunyu Kakunin Show import certificate at least 14 days before arrival if you need to bring restricted medication. Bring original packaging, your doctor's letter, and your prescription. For ADHD specifically, ask your doctor about non-amphetamine alternatives like Concerta or non-stimulant options that may be permitted. For other Asian countries, contact the embassy of every country you will visit and confirm in writing what is allowed. The 10 minutes it takes to send that email could save you 10 years of your life. If border rules and travel traps like this keep tripping you up, hit subscribe. We break down the stuff airlines, embassies, and tourism boards quietly leave out of the brochures. Mistake 6. Assuming credit cards work everywhere. Americans are conditioned to expect that their Visa or MasterCard will work in any major city on Earth. In Asia, that assumption falls apart fast, and not in the way most people expect. The complication is not that Asia is behind on payment technology. In many cases, Asia is ahead. The problem is that the systems they use are often incompatible with American cards, and the small businesses where you will spend most of your tourism money may not accept credit cards at all. Japan, despite being one of the most technologically advanced countries on Earth, runs on cash. Small restaurants, traditional inns, even some mid-sized retailers expect physical yen. ATMs that accept foreign cards exist, but they are not everywhere, and many small towns have only Japan Post or 7-Eleven ATMs that work for international travelers. Run out of cash in a rural area, and you might not find a way to refill until the next major train station. Vietnam, Cambodia, and parts of Indonesia and the Philippines are similar. Cash dominates outside the major hotels and chain restaurants. Even where cards are accepted, fees are often added without warning. American Express is widely useless. Discover almost never works. China runs on a different system entirely. Most local transactions happen through WeChat Pay or Alipay, mobile payment apps tied to Chinese bank accounts. American credit cards work at international hotels and some major chains, but the vast Chinese economy of street food, taxis, small shops, and local services moves entirely through QR codes you cannot easily access without setting up the apps in advance. The fix is to plan for cash. Withdraw local currency at the airport on arrival, then refill at ATMs in major cities as you travel. Carry US dollars in small denominations as a backup, since they are widely accepted in tourist areas at decent exchange rates. For China specifically, set up Alipay's tourist mode before your flight, which now allows international cards to load funds directly into the app. In Asia, the customer who pays in cash never gets stuck. Mistake 7. Flying to China without setting up your digital life first. China is not just another country, it has a different internet entirely, and Americans who land at Beijing or Shanghai with their phones in default mode are about to spend their vacation wondering why nothing works. Without a VPN, Google, Gmail, Google Maps, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Twitter, most American news sites, most cloud services, and even some American banking apps that depend on Google services are blocked by the Great Firewall of China. Americans plan trips to China assuming they will just use their phone the way they always do. Then they land, connect to the airport Wi-Fi, and discover that Google Maps gives them nothing, Gmail will not load, Uber does not work, and they cannot even check Facebook to message their family. It is a profoundly disorienting experience for travelers who never thought about how dependent their phone is on a handful of American services. Here's the catch most travelers miss. You cannot download a VPN once you are in China. The app stores in China do not carry them, and the major VPN websites are also blocked. You have to install your VPN, test it, and confirm it works before you board the flight. Set it to your preferred server, log in, and verify access to Google before takeoff. Otherwise, you are stuck. You also need to set up alternative apps in advance. Baidu Maps for navigation, WeChat for messaging and payments, Alipay Tourist Mode for transactions, Didi for ride-hailing. None of these work as smoothly without prep, and figuring them out on a jet-lagged first day in Shanghai is brutal. The fix is straightforward but rarely done. A week before flying to China, install everything you will need. Test it. Preload offline maps. Save key addresses, hotel confirmations, and embassy contact information to a Notes app that does not require internet. Get a Chinese SIM card or eSIM in advance. China rewards prepared travelers and humbles unprepared ones. Do not be the second kind. Mistake 8. Booking tight layovers without checking transit visa rules. American travelers love efficient itineraries. The cheapest flight from New York to Manila might route through Tokyo or Seoul. The best fare to Bali could connect in Singapore or Hong Kong. Layovers seem like a free part of the trip, a chance to see another city or just refuel before the next flight. Then they land in the connecting country and discover they need a transit visa. Here is the rule that catches Americans. Some Asian countries require visas even for travelers who never leave the airport. Others allow short transits without a visa, but only at specific terminals or under specific conditions. The rules vary not just by country, but by which airport you are connecting through, how long your layover is, whether you change terminals, and whether you need to claim and recheck baggage. Vietnam allows transit through Ho Chi Minh City, but with restrictions. Some countries waive transit visa requirements for stays under 24 hours, but enforce them strictly past that. Long layovers that involve leaving the airport overnight almost always trigger visa requirements that short layovers do not. The trap is the cheap multi-stop ticket. American travelers see a great fare with 2 stops and book it without thinking through what each stop legally requires. By the time they realize one of the connections needs a transit visa they do not have, the flight is non-refundable and the visa application takes weeks. The fix is to check transit requirements for every country in your itinerary, including ones you are only changing planes in. Do this before booking, not after. The cheap flight that saves you $200 is not a deal if a missing transit visa costs you the entire trip. In 2026, saying you are just connecting is not always enough. Mistake 9. Assuming your American health insurance covers you abroad. This one rarely makes it into travel guides, but it ends more vacations badly than almost any other mistake on this list. American travelers assume that since they have health insurance, they are covered if something goes wrong overseas. Most are not. Here is how American health insurance typically handles international travel. Most domestic plans, especially HMO plans and many PPO plans, do not cover medical care outside the United States. Some cover emergencies, but exclude routine care. Almost none cover medical evacuation, which is the most expensive single thing that can happen to a traveler who gets seriously hurt or sick abroad. The numbers are brutal. A medical evacuation flight from Asia back to the United States can cost from $80,000 to $150,000. A serious hospital stay in a developed Asian country like Japan or Singapore can run thousands of dollars per day. Even routine emergency room visits in tourist areas often require upfront cash payment, with the patient expected to seek reimbursement from insurance later, if at all. What catches Americans off guard is the assumption that hospitals will accept their American insurance cards the way they do in the United States. They will not. Most Asian hospitals require payment at the time of service, in cash or by international credit card. Some will not even start treatment until they confirm you can pay. The fix is dedicated travel insurance for every Asian trip, comprehensive coverage. With medical evacuation typically costs from $50 to $150 for a 2-week trip, depending on your age and pre-existing medical conditions. Companies like World Nomads, Allianz, and Safety Wing offer policies designed specifically for international travelers. Read what is covered carefully, especially regarding adventure activities, scooter rentals, and any pre-existing medical conditions. The cost of insurance is small. The cost of being uninsured in a Bangkok ICU is the kind of thing that ruins families. Mistake 10, and the one with the highest possible price tag: bringing CBD, marijuana, or any cannabis-derived product to Asia. In the United States, cannabis attitudes have softened dramatically. CBD is sold at gas stations. Marijuana is legal in many states for medical or recreational use. Edibles are easy to buy. Vape pens are everywhere. Americans have grown casual about products that, just a generation ago, were treated as serious controlled substances. Asia did not get the memo. In Singapore, drug trafficking can carry the death penalty. The country has executed foreign nationals for offenses that would barely register in the United States. Possession alone can mean a decade in prison. The same applies in Malaysia, where drug laws are among the strictest on earth. Japan bans all forms of cannabis, including CBD oil, and any product that might contain trace THC. Possession can result in lengthy prison sentences. Indonesia and Bali, despite being tourist destinations, treat drug offenses with severe penalties. Foreign tourists have spent decades in Indonesian prisons for offenses that started with a single gummy left in a backpack. Here is the trap that catches Americans. They forget. They throw a CBD gummy or a pre-roll into their carry-on at home, thinking nothing of it, the way you would toss in a pack of gum. They land in Singapore or Bali, get pulled aside for a random search, and their entire life changes in 30 seconds. Foreign embassies cannot save you from local drug laws. Your American passport offers zero protection in a Singaporean courtroom. The fix is absolute. Before flying to Asia, empty every bag, every pocket, every toiletry kit, every makeup bag. Throw out anything that contains cannabis, CBD, or any product you cannot verify is 100% free of THC. Old prescription bottles, tincture droppers, vape cartridges, edibles you forgot you had. All of it. The 30 minutes you spend sweeping your luggage could save you from a sentence that destroys your life. In Asia, casual drug attitudes are not a character trait. They are a crime. So now you know. 10 things American travelers are getting completely wrong about flying to Asia in 2026. Treating Asia like one country, the 6-month passport rule, the onward ticket trap, the digital arrival cards, the medication minefield, the credit card assumption, the China digital wall, the transit visa surprise, the travel insurance gap, and the catastrophic cannabis mistake. Each one of these has ended American vacations. Some have ended American freedom. The casual approach to international travel that works fine for trips to Mexico or Europe does not translate to Asia. And the assumption that you can figure things out as you go is the single most expensive belief an American traveler can carry. Before your next Asian trip, build a checklist for every single country in your itinerary. Verify visas, arrival cards, passport validity, medication legality, currency requirements, and insurance coverage, one country at a time. Empty your bags of anything questionable. Set up your phone the way you will need it before you board. Buy travel insurance. Confirm onward tickets. Asia is incredible. The food, the culture, the temples, the beaches, the bullet trains, the ancient cities, the modern megacities, all of it worth the trip. But getting there in 2026 takes more than a passport and a plane ticket. It takes preparation that most Americans never think to do.